What's going on, everybody? This is Fry. So today, instead of just making a gameplay video, I will be playing some games, but first I would like to rant a little bit about the meta of this game. So I'm going to be talking about what are the best decks, how do you counter that decks. There's basically, three main types of decks, which are control, aggro, and tempo. I will be talking a little bit about that. I'll be talking mostly about miracle and mid-range decks because those are the main ones. So without a further ado, let's just get into what I consider to be the meta-defining deck. Probably the most powerful and just in terms of how much damage potential it can do in the game. It is the OTK Valk deck. This definitely looks a lot different than it used to back in Season 1 because of this card, the Mustache Monument. As you all probably know, the way you play this deck is by swarming with lots of little minions. You gotta draw cards to make sure that you can actually get your Valkyries in your hands. That's why we're running Regifting Zombie. You can add other more card draw. You can use Kite Flyer, Leprechaun if that's your taste, but I'm not necessarily endorsing this specific deck list. I'm just trying to really create what really is mostly what people are running, and maybe adding 4 fruitcakes because those are really important. I'll explain why soon. You basically want to charge up the Valkyrie in your hand every time one of your minions die. This Valkyrie will become more. You're using Final Mission on your own guys, particularly on the Barrel of Deadbeards. This does count as 2 minions dying. So, you can also, the Final Mission, will then do 5 damage if it's doing on a Barrel of Deadbeards. And basically, you usually win by turn 5 even. You just need 5 brains. You stick Mustache Money on the field. The zombie who plays here does bonus attack. By that time, Valkyrie has 12, 14, 16 attack, whatever it is, and you kill them all in one turn. If you happen to not get your Mustache Monuments, you can use teleports. You can teleport Valkyrie. Teleport does work with Barrel of Deadbeards to get in a key spot. It also does draw you a card, so it will help cycle through your deck. So you can teleport a Valkyrie in, and that Valkyrie, there's nothing they can do about it. You have the final say, and then you win. This deck is so freaking powerful. There's very few counters to this deck. I'll tell you why. This is a miracle deck, which really is a mid-range deck. Mid-range decks are they stall for time the first few turns, and they take over the game really, really quickly. Let's say on turns 3, 4, 5, 6, usually around 4, 5, or 6, let's say they really start to put on the tempo. The reason we call this a miracle deck is because that damage happens all in one turn with a particular combo of cards that you're use your card draw to draw into. He does have a lot of card draw, also has telepathy for card draw. And that combo, as I explained, is Mustache into Valk or teleport into Valk. Maybe teleport Valk bonus attack. Another amazing combo. So the reason why this is so hard to counter is because what kind of deck are you going to use? If you use a tempo deck means you make a play on turn 1, you can play another play on turn 2, you slowly grow your field. Those decks are usually going to be thinking about winning on turn, 6, 7. The problem is that it's going to be so hard to prevent the just teleport Valk or Mustache Valk. This just happens all in one turn. And there's nothing a tempo deck's gonna really do to deter that from happening. Control decks also are horrible against this deck because if you play a minion, okay, they remove it. You play another minion, they remove it. You play another one, they remove it. That's how control decks work. And control decks try to take over again, control the field until turn 6, 7, and 8, till the late game, and then really start playing the big finishers. By the time that happens, Valk is already for sure gonna kill the guy. They're gonna be doing so much to charge up the Valkyrie. And this is why this deck is so strong. This deck also is strong against the opposing mid-range decks. I'm going to be showing you what the plant mid-range kind of decks are. Usually this deck will win quicker than those, which is why this deck is so OP. And as you guys, if you've been watching any of my videos recently, you will know that the only way, really effective way, to take out such a strong mid-range deck like this, miracle deck like this, is with aggro decks. So that's the next thing we're going to be working on in the plant side. I'm sure you guys seen this video. Some people hate the fact, Fry, why are you telling everyone to do toxic aggro decks? This is the way you kill OTK Valk. This is definitely the next step in the journey, and this is what I consider to be in the meta for 2 seasons now. Is probably the best deck in the game. The idea of this is how this counters the Valk. You don't front any of their minions. Even if he plays Con Man on turn 1, you don't stick Haunted Pumpkin in front of it. and go and say, oh look, it's gonna trade. See, I'll have a 4-1 in the field. He has nothing. You don't want to do that. You just want to hit their face. You put Pumpkin to face, 3 damage on turn 2, 5 or 4 damage on turn 3. They start, the lanes start getting clogs, and then you resort to your strike through cards. If all else fails, the Wingnut in this deck will prevent, that's why I'm running 4 Wingnuts, will prevent that Valkyrie or Tricksters or Frenzy cards or whatever's happening on the zombie side from doing bonus attacks, besides for being a pretty big beefy minion to 3/7. Not a great aggro card, but it's such a hard counter to basically all of the strong zombie decks that are out there. In terms of like the mid-range ones and the bonus attack ones, everything, all the big zombie cards are going to be doing some kind of bonus attack, whether it be Frenzy or Mustache Monument, or to win. The idea of this deck, the main idea is that you can actually destroy your opponent, hurt Professor Brainstorm, whatever hero they're running's face, and get rid of their 20 health before they're able to get their Valk, first of all, charged up enough, and second of all, be able to deploy the Mustache Valk combo. Easily the best counter. I'm probably going to make an experiment. I actually did it then to stream once. I made a little experiment. We were doing only aggro Solar Flare versus OTK Valk. And the aggro Solar Flare definitely won. They won. I think whoever played the Solar Flare won all but one. So this is definitely the way to go. The reason why I say, if you can see the deck list I have for OTK Valk, I'd say every version of OTK Valk, whether you're going to do more of an aggro version, which is what I prefer, or you're going to do this kind of typical version, you should be running 4 copies of Fruitcake, because the main 2 cards that can counter Valk from happening, the main one is this, because this will prevent the Valk from doing bonus attacks, and Fruitcake is just enough to take this out. Really the only answer Professor Brainstorm has to a 3/7. The other card that can actually, it's not as common, it's not as good of a preventative measure against OTK Valk, but it is pretty good, is Pecanolith. I'll pull that up here for people who want to see what the card is. What the heck is Pecanolith? Am I missing something? Oh, it's not a Guardian hero. Duh, Fry, come on, man. Here's this nut deck. This deck actually wouldn't do that bad against Valk either. But Pecanolith is the other one. This will make the Valk attack, instead of with its attack with its health. So your big OTK Valk with the 12 attack can only do 6 damage, which is a pretty good deterrent. That's why I would say that you should be running, try to run 4 copies of Exploding Fruitcake in your Valk deck. So there are other aggro decks on the plant side. I'll show you a few of those, and they all are decent counters to Valk, but Solar Flare has the whole package. It's really the Solar Heroes that are going to be the best. Another really good one is Captain Quickwin. I'll show you this one. This definitely can work. What you're trying to do, again, hit your opponent's face, deplete their health, charge your own block meter with this card, keep your powers in your hand, particularly Blazing Bark, but in big in time to shine, and either destroy them really quickly. There's a lot of really good aggressive cards. You don't need the Muscle Sprouts. It's kind of the worst card in this deck. And hit them with a Repeat Moss combo. Now, Repeat Moss plus Blazing Bark does 12, plus any other trick. Looks like plus Embiggen will then do, this will do 6, and then with Embiggen it'll do 14. So, you'll definitely be able to do 6 damage before that. So, this is a deck, again, that can go faster, both in its high attack guys, also in its ability to pull off this Repeat Moss combo. Repeat Moss combo can happen before Valk combo. It is possible. There's a little bit of a race. I'd say this isn't quite as effective. I think one thing particularly against Valk decks, since there's usually a lot of minions on the field, really bug out these cards. Really bug out the Repeat Moss, for example. If there's guys on the field, those guys are going to start absorbing the shots from the Repeat Moss. That's why I really prefer Solar Flare, the Solar Heroes, for aggro. Because the Solar Heroes do have strike through. So instead of this card, you're going to be using a card like the Astrocado. I'll show you real quickly over here. The Astrocado and the Elderberry. These are things that are doing 5 damage strike through. Which again, it's since you're going to start getting matched up with their minions. Usually on turn 4, that's the time that they'll have a full field in order to block your guys. It's good to start striking through, finishing them off this way, but Captain Quickwin is viable. You could do aggro Walnut too. I don't know if I have an aggro Walnut deck built here. I don't, but you basically could do this. I mean, what are you going to be missing? You're going to be missing, you have the solar cards, so these are all the same. This is the same. On turn 1, you're going to have to find another card. He doesn't really have anything as good as Blooming Heart. This is the same, no Berry Blast, so you're going to have to replace it. I'd say Wall Knight's powers are also not as good for aggro. These are kind of good at getting rid of the little cards out of the way if they're blocking you. The More Spore is kind of useless in this deck, but you can, again, upgrade it. Use it to evolve into this huge card. So I prefer Aggro Solar Flare. I believe it is the best one. There is one other good contender for best deck in the game. I'm gonna get to him. You know what? I'll show you this right now. This is the other contender for best deck in the game, but I don't think it's really gonna stack up against Valk. This deck has too many weaknesses. Again, this is really one of the best decks in the game. I'm not trying to take any away from anything. I'd say without this deck having a few key weaknesses, this is the most powerful plant deck in the game. This is a deck, of course. This is called the Swarm. You basically either stick the Astro Shroom into the Planet of the Grapes. That does 1 bullseye damage every time you play a guy. So if it's in the Planet of Grapes, it'll keep drawing you cards. You can do the same thing with Admiral Navy Bean and the limited number of beans we have in this deck. You could add more beans if you want. You basically want to stick those and draw cards and keep drawing. Sometimes you'll get Magic Beanstalks from Lima Pleurodon. We don't run so Magic Beans in this deck anymore because it's become useless. They nerfed it. Doesn't draw a card. The second way of winning, which is very, very important in this deck. Again, don't try to just win with one way of winning, a single-minded, unless you're going Valk, which is, again, I really don't like the regular Valks decks. I like to have a second way of winning because sometimes this deck will shoot itself in the foot by not getting... Now, you won't get your Valks. There's a lot of games you won't get your Valks. So I like running a Valk hybrid with Trickster. Maybe I'll show you that a little bit later. But basically, this deck does have a second win condition. It is Pine Clone. Pine Clone's the main thing. You can swarm little guys on the field in terms of Pine Clones, and I know people have a lot of people don't know. You kind of have to know a lot about the game and make sure your little guys don't get removed. But if you know how to get your guys in the field in a way where they're not going to be destroyed, and you hit them with a Pine Clone, it's freaking game over if you have 4 Pine Clones on the field on turn 4. And as long as they don't have anything too special. I recently started running the Puff Shrooms. These turn into like an extra Pine Clone on turn 4. Really cool. You can use the Molecule. It's not necessary, but you can use this after you pull the Pine Clones and then upgrade to 5 drops, which is cool. I do like using Pine Clone on Velociraptor Hunter. This card's also good with the Astro Shroom. Anyway, this is also really useful as a finisher. Sometimes you just need that little extra damage, and Sonic Bloom has finished off games for us in this deck many a time. So this is a really, really strong deck. I'm going to show you what aggro means on the zombie side. Let's get into that now. These are also very good decks if you want to do aggro zombies. Now, the way you do aggro zombies is with any crazy hero. Crazy has clearly become the best decks for aggro. You can even do it with Z-Mex. Z-Mex deck is fine. We call this Fry's best friend because we're running Zombie's best friend in this deck, which, yeah, we're still running. So basically, the keys to this deck, the crazy cards that need to appear in every deck like this, this is extremely important, the Disco Knot. You're not doing tons and tons of damage with each guy. It's not like the plant side where your 1-drops are doing 4 damage. There's nothing like that on the zombie side. Instead, you're trying to do a lot of little guys in the field and try to make them bullseye. So Disco Knot's good. Conman, again, is still a good card even after its nerf. It does a lot of bullseye damage. If they're not blocking, you're going to be able to finish them off quickly. This gives you powers. The Unlife of the Party does grow a lot in this deck, so this can end up being a bigger card, both when you play with Egg, because Egg really ends up being 2 minions, so we'll proc the ability of the Unlife twice. It also works with Dog's Best Friend. This is just a nice card, again, to just play on turn 2. Just put a ridiculous amount of minions on the field, unless they have major field clear, and, again, the weaknesses of this deck is any control deck. Control decks will beat aggro decks on both sides. I guess I'll explain how do you beat the aggro Solar Flare next. But the way you beat this deck is with berry decks. Berry decks who run Strawberryan. I'll get into that soon. Anyway, you run usually this for a finisher. Cosmic Dancer. This is kind of like Strike Through for zombies. Instead of, there's obviously no real big Strike Through cards. This is Overshoot, so it'll be doing that damage. This can be Bullseye too if you have Cosmic Dancer. It'll give you more Dancers and they'll be Overshoot. Just kind of make sure you don't run out of steam. I'll show you 1 or 2 more versions of this deck, then I'll talk about, how to counter these aggro decks with control decks. That's obviously how it's going to be. I'll show you the Infinity version just for This is the aggro infinity that worked for us. Really nice to have line dancing zombie in this field. This one actually does concentrate on a little bit higher attack minions like Space Pirate. This sometimes is a good finisher too. You got the Space Cowboy. Otherwise, you really got your Disconauts, your Egg, your Unlife, Zombie's Best Friend. This one, nice to have a couple Shook Retreats in this deck. I don't like running too many of these because they end up being dead if you don't have a zombie on the field. The Line Dancing Zombie is probably the best card in this deck. It's 3 damage. It can sometimes be Bullseye. It's Strike Through. It's a Gravestone. This usually will do 6 damage for a 3-drop. It's really good. Alright, let's keep it going over here. Oh, the reason there's no one viewing is because I didn't have my YouTube stream on. Alright, so just turn the YouTube stream on and we Gucci to go. Alright, so I'm going to explain now how do you counter aggro decks. And the way to counter aggro decks is with control. So the way to counter all these zombie decks is to just do control on the plant side. The best example of a control deck that will just ruin every aggro zombie deck is this one right over here, is the Berry Splash deck. These cards, this is a controlled, really it's a mid-range deck, which means again you're trying to like take over the game, kind of starts on 3, really on 4, 5, or 6. This is so good at removing little guys. This does 3 damage to the guy you front it with, and you know, because 2 plus it explodes, plus a little splash damage all around the field. Berry Blast, this is a very good removal card. It's either a 3/3 on heights, it can make, you know, hot lava on the ground. This can remove even very big cards because the hot lava really builds up after a while. That does 1 damage to everything there. These splash cards will do damage to your own guys, which will be able to trigger the Pear Cup and the Hibernating Berry, which these are also both decent control cards in their own right. These matched up against little guys will win and give you an advantage. The main way, though, you can really control is with this card over here. Strawberry, you can get extra Berry Blast, but when you play another berry, this will do 1 little damage. If that berry is a strong berry, so then that's going to be doing 3 damage in all 3 lanes. And Sergeant Strongberry combined with your Strawberryan or this card, these Sour Grapes, this does 1 damage. If the strong berries on the field do 3 damage to everything, it's just game over with aggro decks because you can play 1 card a turn and remove everything they have off the field, and then the aggro deck runs out of steam. So this is how you beat the aggro decks. I like Bacanolith just as a finisher and to counter Valk, I guess. I'm going to explain why Neptune is weak this season, as I explained. So that's a control deck. Now, I'll tell you what, I actually consider this to be a control deck nowadays, because you usually win with a Sergeant Strongberry combo. This is like, I don't know, I guess this is a mid-range deck, because you start really putting on the tempo sometimes on turn 3 with Pear Cup if one of your guys are about to explode. You stick a Pear Cup on and you get a 5/4, but I'll tell you, control decks are not what they used to be. Used to be control decks means you can control until turn 8 and then do a finisher. Nowadays, you got to start winning quicker. So a couple Strongberries together, let's say, you know, on turn 5 or 6. If you have 2 of these on the field, and one of them hits face, the other one procs, and this one procs. If you guys know how these work, this will create a Sergeant Strongberry loop. 2 of these on the field, because every time one of these does damage, the other one will do 2 damage, and then this one will, etc. I'll show you a zombie control deck. This is how you'll beat aggro Solar Flare. The way that you beat it is with crazy control decks. I guess I'll show you this one. This is probably the best one. It says Plumbers in it. This is a zombie control deck. I know it looks very similar to Valk. This is the kind of... I'll show you both of these at the same time. This is both the Valk deck I prefer and the zombie control deck I prefer. And this is not going to really get beaten that easily by Solar Flare. The reason is because you can take out all their little, you know, weak 2 health is kind of the key. And you can destroy their Haunted Pumpkins and everything with the Bungee Plumber. All the while you're playing tricks, you're actually buffing up your Trickster. Really important in a trick deck to have sort of a way to finish them off. And Trickster's the best way because you're controlling them with this. The Beam Me Up really takes out most things. It doesn't take out Fireweed. Fireweed's still a weakness here. We are running 3 of these to deal with the Wingnuts and stuff like that. We are running, again, the Mustache with Valk and Trickster, but running Fireworks Zombies with the Barrels and running Wraths. Just a lot of cards to be able to really ruin their, you know, if you can slow down if you can slow down aggro decks that their turn 1, 2, and 3 plays don't work out, and then they're going to really have to start damaging you on turn 4, you're basically at 20 health coming into turn 4, you're usually going to win. And you can take out, for the most part, you can take out their first 3 plays in this turn. You can even use this on Fireweed on 2. It's actually not that bad of an idea, especially if you have Trickster in your hands. So this is really the deck I prefer, the way to do it. Plus, you know, in the regular version of Valk, which I'm keeping on the screen here because it's kind of the root of the meta, sometimes you don't get Valk. This way, you can get either Valk or Trickster and win with one of them. Sometimes you get one of each, which is always good. So it's just a one-dimensional deck. That's why I happen to prefer this. Beam Me Up does not take out Fireweed, because Fireweed on Heights is a 3-3. It's only a 2-3, so they'll be left with a 3-1 on the field, which again isn't the end of the world. Sometimes then you can just stick a Barrel of Deadbeards and that you can Firework. I don't know. This is pretty good at dealing with the aggro decks. The Tricksters also in this deck, the Valks and the Tricksters, you can usually start playing them around turn 6. Because think about it, if between turns 1 and 5 you play 4 Tricks, on turn 6 your Trickster's going to be in. You can then teleport Trickster on turn 6. So 6 is a good turn to start winning in control decks. Later than that is too slow, and that's kind of the next thing I'm going to explain. I'll show you. Okay, so I've shown you plant control decks, zombie control decks. You can do control Boogaloo too. Splash Gargs, I guess, was a decent one. This is another control deck. Again, you're removing everything they do off the field and then coming late with your Gargs. This is another good example of a control deck. This isn't the greatest one. This is kind of more for funsies. Some not serious cards in this deck. You can see I made a whole video on this deck if you want to see it. But again, this would be good against aggro decks, Solar Flare, and stuff like this. These control decks would be less good against Captain Combustible, because even as you remove their early cards, they can still hit you with that Repeat Moss combo. That's one thing that makes Captain Combustible. We don't really have any gravestones in this deck to prevent the Repeat Moss combo. So Captain Combustible is kind of the most dangerous hero. Even if you do control his aggression, it can still get you with the mid-range, with the Repeat Moss plus Super plus everything. What used to be a very good control deck is this one. This used to be the best deck in the game. Was this control deck. It would kill all the aggro decks. It would kill usually the tempo decks even on the plant side. And the Plankwalkers were such a good finisher. In this deck, you'd remove things with Rolling Stone. There used to be a lot of mushrooms in the deck. You know, mushrooms on turn 1. The Fire Rooster would take those out. Sumo, again, takes out most turn 2 plays. So do the Line Dancing Zombie. You know, wherever they play their guy, this will kind of slide over and get it. Pogo Mix Up Gravedigger. This is the environment in this deck. It'll remove their environments, do damage. That also combos really well with the Shark, which is one of your finishers. And you basically stall until turn 8 and get out the Zombot Plankwalker. Now, the reason why this deck does not work anymore, there's 2 reasons why. The main reason is because the main win condition of this deck is the Zombot Plankwalker, and it has become so hard to survive until turn 8. In any deck nowadays, because the win conditions of decks, have definitely changed. We definitely have the mic should be fine here. All right. Anyway, that's the first reason why this deck doesn't work anymore. The second reason is because there's no way of dealing with Haunted Pumpkin. Haunted Pumpkin is again the best aggro card on the plan side. People ask me what cards should you craft. My 2 answers are Going Viral. I'll show you that in a different deck later. But one of the best cards to craft actually is the Haunted Pumpkin. This again is the one that starts off doing 4 damage. It does give your opponent a card, which is a disadvantage, a strong disadvantage, but it's still worth it. There's no way for Neptuna to deal with this on turn 1. So you play this, maybe they play Sumo on turn 2 can take this out. But then you're already playing another card, and in a control deck, if you're not removing what they're doing every single turn, you're going to fall way behind, particularly against this deck. So it really does not have proper answers. So first of all, it's too slow. Second of all, it does not have proper answers to the zombies. And, you know, like a Repeat Moss combo from Captain Combustible will just ruin this deck. There's nothing in this deck can do to control that. There's a lot of other things, too. There's Shooting Star combos. I'll show you that deck soon. And just having, like, things with bonus attacks particularly can just ruin this deck. Alright, so I just want to show you, guys, another example of this on the plant side. is with the Citron control deck. Now, people have always asked me, Fry, Citron's a great idea for control. He has the Guardian class, which is really good at controlling. The Smarty class has become very good at controlling with like cards like Shrinking Violet, great field clear card. So how come you don't use this deck? Again, it's the same as the Neptuna. It's going to be the same problem. The win conditions for, control Citron are going to be like Dragon Fruit, and Walnut Bowling, which again are very, very powerful late game cards, but they're not going to get the job done because they're too slow. They're not going to be able to beat Valkyrie or really any decent zombie, mid-range zombie deck, because those decks are going to start really winning and really putting on the high pressure and the high damage on turns 4, 5, and 6, and this deck is not going to be able to control that. It's the win condition is way too slow. So it's similar to the Control Neptuna in that sense. I will show you a deck that does work on the plant side, which is ramp decks. I'll show you this Rose deck. So ramp is kind of its own thing. The point of ramp is to gain extra sun every single turn. So this will give you extra sun. You'll get some sunflowers that'll give you extra sun over here. You got the twin sunflower, will give you 2 extra sun, and then you have this one, like calling full throttle ramp, where you have like 4 different types of cards, basically at least 3 or 4 copies of each. That will give you extra sun. This will give you extra sun too when that dies. And then you can actually be using expensive cards like Dragon Fruit. If you're doing it with Walnut, you can use Walnut Bowling. It's kind of fun, even though it's not that serious of a card. Bird of Paradise. Bird of Paradise usually is too slow. It's a 5-cost card. You only start gaining the Conjuring the Superpowers on turn 6. So drawing cards on turn 6. Usually turn 6 is when you got to start winning the game. You don't want to be conjuring superpowers. You got to like put your finishers on the field. But you can actually get this out very often on turn 3. Just turn 2 you play Twin Sunflower, and then then turn 3 you're making 5s, and then you can play this on turn 3, and then the Conjuring the Superpowers on turn 4 and turn 5, those will help you quickly take over the game because superpowers typically are OP. Kind of more of a funsy card. The more serious finishers though are this, which again, this is usually too slow, but you can get this definitely before turn 6 and your dragons and the Brainanas and stuff like that. So this is a good example of a good, let's say, mid-range. It's kind of hard to differentiate between mid-range and control. Control just means super late game, and you stall for time. Mid-range, kind of you stall for time, then you hit him more in the mid-range. So control is kind of dead because of how strong the mid-range decks are. You got to get your dragon before 8. You can definitely get your dragons out on turn 6. You can get these earlier. And Briar Rose is these cards are all control cards. Briar Rose is definitely a control card. This is just to remove early game. These are to remove early games. This is to both a good control card. A 3/3 is fine, and it will slow down your opponent's gravestone. So this is a good example. You can make this with Walnut. It's kind of the same thing. Have any good ramp Walnut decks here? Probably not. Not really. This nut deck might work. I haven't really tried this in the stream yet, but it sort of is another mid-range deck where you kind of take over with your Pecanolith and your Wingnut. And maybe with your 3-nut. I'll try this someday on the stream. This will be fun. Loco Coco's not as good as Poppin' Poppies, period. Alright, so those are the reasons why. Those are the control decks that kind of work and don't work. I'll show you maybe one more honorable mention for a control deck / mid-range deck that actually is pretty good. Is the Savage Starfruit. This is kind of the first deck I did in set 4. I really like this. Because this is a control deck. You're using your Bonk Choice, does 3 damage. Can remove basically any zombie. This is a very strong control card. You got the Primal Pea Shooter. This is used as a control card, also a little card. You basically stall for time until turns 4 and 5, where you play either Onion Rings or Savage Spinach. And then you take over the game like on turn 6, 5 or 6. You're just taking over the game. Either with your Shooting Star, it's going to do like a 4/4. This will do 1,000,000 damage to your opponent, or with the Rotobig. The Rotobig also gets really big. A lot of ways of winning. I have a whole video on this if you want to see. So this is, again, an example of a plant deck that can actually win before turn 8. Control deck, which is really important. Alright, what else do we got here? I can show you now just maybe a couple of the decks and show you kind of how they fit into the meta here. It seems like Baby Fry is back. Hopefully he'll be... I need to lock the door on the way to the office because he's always trolling us. Alright. Tempo decks. Why are tempo decks not good? I'll show you examples of some tempo decks here. Tempo Grass Knuckles used to be very, very good. Okay, just 1 second, guys. Alright, sorry. I have like a door that kind of leads to the office. I just need to keep that closed because he's always coming in just knocking on the door. Alright, so Tempo Grass Knuckles used to be a very, very good deck. I feel like it's gotten very weak. First of all, one of the main things that made this deck so good in later days was Lily of the Valley, and this card got nerfed. This is so easy to remove on turn 2. It's very hard to get value from it. So you can like slowly but surely grow the cards. The problem is aggro decks on the zombie side are going to totally destroy this deck. They're just going to win too fast before you're able to, you know, make us slow play on turn 1, but you grow on turn 2, you get more ahead in turn 3, use the grow shroom, and this deck kind of slowly but surely grows. Decks like this. This isn't the exact deck list I used to use, but it doesn't really matter. The other problem is Valk decks will also kill this because you're not going to be like finishing them off, you know, fast enough for them not to be able on turn, like usually in tempo decks you're trying to make a lot of good trades. Let's say the black IP will trade well against a 2/2. You still have the black IP on the field, and that grows, they play tricks, and you're trying to like make good trades. If you're trading with the minions of Valk decks, they're just going to absolutely wreck you. This deck just hasn't become good. The reason why tempo decks on the zombie side are not good is really for a completely different reason. They've basically never been good. We have tried a couple tempo decks that have been decent, but on the zombie side, if you just play a zombie, then you play a bigger one and you grow it, let's say with freaking, I don't know, let's say with the Smash, and you want to make like a tempo Smash deck. Usually if you're playing a card and you're playing another zombie, the plants are going to be able to react to you, and whoever's reacting in this game wins. That's why you need to really be playing, let's say, mid-range or control. There is one deck, though, that does work that's tempo on the zombie side, and this is very noteworthy. I showed this deck a lot, just because it's the best budget zombie deck in the game. This is our sports deck. Sports decks actually are pretty good because it's very hard for your opponents to deal with the cards in this deck. This is the budget version. You can make a more expensive version with more expensive cards, but this deck works fine. You basically want to play your Arm Wrestler on 1, shift a minion over there on turn 2. You can also use this to remove like minions on turn 2. This also can help protect your Arm Wrestler, but this deck really starts on turn 3 when you play this card, Team Mascot. Very difficult card for the plants to remove. There's only a few cards in the game that can take this out. You got Hammer, you know, Health Nut, freaking Zapricot. It's just a few cards that can really take this out. When you then protect, this will grow all of your sports cards together, huge synergy. And then you just protect them again and again with your multiple copies. Sometimes you'll have, you know, at least 1 or 2 copies of Zombie Coach in your hand. You protect them. It just grows, and grows. You can either use your Rodeo Garg as a finisher, or you can use the going viral as kind of the better finisher. After you've grown your big field, you then going viral, which will grow your guys further and make them frenzy and actually make them able to hit face. Very important to have this card in your hardy decks because it's usually the win condition for basically every hardy deck. So this is an example of a tempo deck that works for beginner players. Definitely suggest using this one. We'll go through kind of some of the other heroes, and I'll tell you what their strengths and weaknesses. Again, I've been struggling this season to make that good Neptuna deck. Immorticia's basically going to be tricksters. You can basically use this deck. You're controlling with all your little tricks. You're coming in with Trickster. Nice to have another little win condition. So Kitchen Sink, you can use other things. I find Kitchen Sink does a lot of damage, particularly when you teleport this in. This is 8 damage bullseye. It's a really good way to lead up to Trickster too. This deck does not have Mustache Monument you can add. This is really a deck from last season. It'll look something like this. I'll probably bring this deck back with Mustache Monument, and maybe we'll try doing Kitchen Sink into Mustache Monument. That'll be a good combo. What else you got? Alright, the good deck we found for Brain Freeze was actually this. The deck that upset all of the meme lords because of the title. But this is a aggro deck. Pet decks are aggro, which means you're trying to hit your opponent's face as hard as you can, do a lot of damage, particularly with this card, the Cat Lady. There's a lot of other good aggro cards. The theme of this deck, I do have this on YouTube, is the Hunting Grounds. There's a lot of cards like Fire Rooster and an energy drink zombie that grow extremely quickly when they're played into this into the Hunting Grounds. They'll grow and they'll definitely move out that turn, and they'll become very hard hitters very quickly. We did have a lot of success with this deck. This again is a very quick way of finishing off opponents by doing a lot of bonus attacks. Works very well with the Hunting Grounds. So but Fry, that meme is a month old. You can't even make a reference to it. Nobody cares. 0 people care. Fry, we're insulted. Fry, you're 29. You don't understand meme culture. You're 10 years too late. I admit it. I don't understand meme culture. Moving right along. This is a control deck. Again, I wouldn't consider this to be the best deck in the game, but this is a decent control deck. It is with Trickster. Use your tricks to remove everything. It's very, again, no answer to Haunted Pumpkin, which is a major problem if you're playing against aggro decks. And usually the whole thing in control decks is that it can control the aggro decks. Basically, you can... he has a decent control hero, particularly because he has the answer to the little cards, the answer to the big cards, and the answer to the medium cards with this new knockout that was added. Mechasaur is kind of an alternate win condition. It ended up being better than I thought. This deck's okay. I wouldn't bring it to a tournament. I will bring back Teacher Miracle. If you guys notice, there is a little Miracle deck sitting here. I do want to try to bring this back. It is hard because there's no Stompodons, but I'm going to try to bring back some kind of Miracle deck where you put a few teachers on the field and then play a million going virals in a row. It's very difficult. The main reason, actually, because there's no Leprechaun. You used to run this deck. You used to run Leprechauns. Get all these pots of gold in your deck. Get the pots of gold in your hand. Get your teachers on the field, and then draw a million cards with your free pots of gold. They'll be drawing you three cards. I'll show you guys what Leprechaun is for those who don't know. This used to put 2 pots of gold in your deck. Now only puts 1, so they're really hard to get. I basically don't like Leprechaun anymore. And then you just draw cards, and you play Stompodon was so good in this deck. You're just drawing cards, everything's growing, and you're freaking going viral. And you know, I'm gonna try to pull something like this off. I have tried this version of the deck. I tried this off stream. Didn't work well. Flag Zombie's kind of a joke. Just get rid of that. But anyway. Alright, let's just move on here. I'll try to bring that back. Smash, I kind of already explained. Smash Control, by the way. A lot of people ask me, Fry, what's with Smash Control? Smash Control is not a good idea. I actually deleted my Smash Control deck. The reason why Smash Control deck is not good is because Smash does not have good enough finishers. If you just want to see what the Smash has, I'll just open this deck just to open up the Smash's list. Your finishers are very, very weak. I mean, you can play cards like this, but if you just play a card in the field, the plants are going to remove it and play their own card, or they're going to front it with their strike through card or something like this. These cards, they don't really do enough for their cost. You have Nerf, well, Fry, you can put Octo Zombie. Again, if they have a bounce in their hand, a Spring Beam, they Spring Beam this, and then they have still a 5 Sun in which to absolutely ruin you with. It is also too slow. These cards are cost 8, and the plants will beat you before turn 8, no matter how good of a control deck you have. Really, his win conditions are too weak. What about Zombot, Fry? Zombot sucks. Seriously, it's a perfect example of why Zombot stinks. You spend 9 brains playing Zombot on the field. They can use 1 Sun to prevent the Zombot from hitting you that turn by fronting it with any minion, any little cheap minion, and then they have 8 Sun. They're just gonna wreck you, absolutely destroy. They can put so much damage on the field. Most times I see an opponent play a Zombot, not only do I win the match, I win that turn. That is usually the perfect setup for me to they totally commit all their brains and you just ruin them. Anyway, moving right along. Huge Giganticus is the interesting hero. Ramp doesn't really work anymore. He's kind of just been fun. Any of these have been really good. These have all been like okay. I don't think any of these are really top tier. This was a really interesting environment-based deck. We did this with Neutron. I'm going to maybe bring this back because it's so complicated. I still haven't even understood the full depth of this. Neutron Garg with Mr. Mime, and Mr. Mime does a million bonus attacks. Everything does bonus attacks. You start putting these environments on the field, and then you start bouncing them off with Excavator, which is an extra bounce. Pogo mixed up Gravedigger. This was a really interesting deck. This is probably the best, definitely the most creative one we had for Mr. Mime this season. For Huge Giganticus. We've been doing a lot of Huge Giganticus, just RNG, and we did Pirates. This wasn't even the good pirate one. The one with the freeze pirates. It was, again, we have decent decks here. A pirate-based deck where you're freezing and you're pirates and you're playing, you know, Shield Crusher Viking. You're trying to do strike through Shield Crusher Viking with Ice Moon. Anyway. Yeah. Moving right along. Z-Mech, okay. So Z-Mech has, his only good deck this season is the aggro. There used to be a good tempo deck with Z-Mech, which was dancing, but the deck relied very heavily. This is the aggro Z-Mech I showed you before. It relied very heavily on this card for tempo. This used to be such a good tempo card. Kind of upset this got nerfed, honestly. I think nerfing Stompidon was enough of a blow to the Hardy class. The Hardy class really, this used to cost 1, which you could play dancing cards and protect them very easily with this. You can't do that anymore. So really, it's mostly just Z-Mech. I have tried Control Z-Mech. It did fail. I tried this several times and this failed again because the win condition is way too late. He doesn't have those really strong win condition cards that come around turn 6, 7, 8. Maybe there's a way to do this with Binary Stars. Binary Stars doesn't work until turn 6 because you need at least a trick to protect this, or else it usually doesn't do enough. It just doesn't have strong win condition cards. Which one of these games is just going to close out a game? What is it going to be? It's going to be freaking Gas Giant? Wannabe Hero? Garg Feast works, but it's way too late. It's way too late. Anyway, that's why Control Z-Mech doesn't work. He does have good removal. He has very good removal and Fruit Kick and stuff. If only he had a faster win condition. It's always been one of the problems. Brainstorm, I've showed you a few decks. Boogaloo, I already showed you 2 decks. You can do aggro Boogaloo. It works very well. This is the old deck from last season. This will still work well. I run a lot of squirrels to just counter the berry meta. And important if you're ever running a beastie hero, if you ever want to, you're getting annoyed by berry decks, just run this freaking card. Again, another aggro deck. You got your bullseye cards, you got your overshoots. This one does feature a heavy hitter, exploding imp. You can stick that and make it frenzy in this environment. Pirate of the Key. King of the Grill zombie, yeah. King of the Grill again. It's a 6/6 frenzy. It draws you cards. Drawing cards is too slow on turn 6, and it's just a zombie. They can use a Shamrock and remove it and still have 3 sun. That's the problem with playing zombies as finishers. Usually, as opposed to playing plants as finishers, you want your cards that cost 5 or more to do something. You don't want them just to be a big body on the field. Haven't really found anything with Super Brains this season, honestly. Infinity we had, you know, because Blob is dead. I want to try to bring back Blob, but anyway. What we had, Aggro Infinity was probably the best one. You can do this version, which is more Face Infinity, more high hitters, where you do play Chase the Chicken, you place on turn 1, and then you stick Chicory Treat on it. This is another just version of Face Infinity. Instead of emphasizing Bullseye, it's emphasizing high attack with the Sugary Treats and with these high attack cards. It works. I'll show you some plant decks and then we'll be done. So I showed you basically the only good green shadow deck. I don't think just Beans is enough. Walnut. So you could do ramp, all the ramp decks, full throttle ramp. I'll show you this one. Right, this is a good example of a control deck. See, again, you ramp up, you do all your ramp cards, and then you can finish them off with Walnut Bowling. Walnut Bowling is fine, because, first of all, this deck actually can make it to turn 9 because of the healing, and because of the epic control that your Flowers in combination with Briar Rose does give you. Also, you're getting a lot of ramps, so very often you'll get turn 7, turn 8. Walnut Bowling is even earlier, so... the Cop Cannon is such a good control card, too, especially with all the little team-ups. This is an anti-trick card. You can run Galactic Cactus for the same price if you want. It's this one. The good control decks on the zombie side, except for the Green Shadow one, the Savage Starfer, are basically ramp decks. Again, this Spadao is basically known for berries. He probably has the best berry deck. It's really nice to have Gravebusters, which is one of the weaknesses of berries. But the fact you can splash early and really get onto the board early with your pair cups, I believe, is really what makes this deck stand out from the other Solar Heroes, but from the other Kabloomy Heroes. But again, you can do berries with any Kabloomy Hero. Beta Karatina, I've got nothing. I've tried everything. I've gotten suggestions from I feel like I've tried everything. Same thing with Citron. I have not found decks that work this season with these. Amphibious is just too slow. It used to be an Amphibious deck where you'd put snakes on turn 5 and protect them, and then they'd really swarm and take over on 6, 7, 8. But that ends up being too slow in today's meta. They're not beating the plants. We do have some ramp decks. I did have a tempo heal deck, which was kind of interesting with him. I'll tell you about heal decks now. People are very obsessed with doing Dr. Pepper combined with Allosaurus. I think this is a good combo, but it's unreliable. It's hard to... Again, this is a turn 7 combo. You're trying to win by then. That's why I kind of like this version where it's a tempo heal, where you're playing this on turn 1, you're ramping, you're getting all this stuff early. You can play this on turn 2 with one of your poppies, so then it becomes a 4/4 on turn 2. Okay. This can be a tempo card. You want to play the Dr. Pepper and then just play Allosaurus on turn 5. It's very high maintenance to pull this off. Power Flower as a finisher. I don't know. This deck was meh. Definitely not top tier. There is like 1 or 2 other decks I did want to show you though. Which one did I do? There was this Grass Knuckles deck that I did with the Gatling P. Now this was a good Grass Knuckles deck. This is an aggro deck actually. We're using, instead of the high hitters, again, there's 2 ways to aggro. High attack minions or bullseye minions. This one we're emphasizing a little bit of each. The early game is mostly bullseye. Galactic Cactus, using these as aggros, maybe control cards. But you're basically trying to hit their face as much as you can. This is a lot of damage, and the big finish is either Bananasaurus Rex or the Gatling P, particularly when you upgrade them from this card over here. You evolve them or fusion them up from P-Patch. This will make the Gatling P do a 7 damage, which again, this is turn 5, will do 7 damage immediately if you have this on the field, which you can kind of just sort of leave this on the field. Usually there's other threats that have to take out. And then this can potentially then do 7 plus 7 during the attack phase, which is all of their health right there. This is a good deck that has, again, the win conditions are coming at turns 4 and 5. This is another reason why those slow zombie decks like Control Neptuna are not working, because Gatling P will absolutely ruin Control Neptuna unless they have the perfect combo between, you know, Pogo mixed up Gravedigger, which is not easy to do. It's not reliable. There is a Chompzilla ramp deck too. I think someone's alluding to that in the chat right now. This is pay to win Chompzilla, people call it. This is one of the first decks I did this season. This is decent. This is decent. I try to do this with that. This is a decent deck. You're ramping up, so again, important for the Solar Heroes. Maybe there's an aggro Chompzilla deck, who knows? But basically, you're controlling with Briar Rose, and you're finishing them off with either the Astrocado. This is a huge, good finisher. Potatosaurus Rex. This cannot be removed easy. So this is a good example of a guy that's just big stats, but it can't be removed. So it really takes a lot of it takes a lot of zombies to remove that, which usually doesn't work. Cobb Cannon both puts a big body on the field to remove things, and sometimes you can pull off the Magnifying Grass with bonus attacks. So if you have like 7 suns, so this plus a bonus attack is going to do 8 plus 8, which is very often a very good finisher. Nice cheap card that gets big, you know, kind of like in the turns that you really want to finish them off. This isn't a good card. I thought Sunstrike would revolutionize the Solar class, and it really has not. Doesn't seem like this does enough, usually. Every once in a while it's useful, but it's too circumstantial and it's too expensive. It costs 4. That's the problem with it. If it costs 3, it would be a lot better. Yeah. What else are we going to talk about? Nightcap. People also ask me to do aggro Nightcap. I haven't found that he doesn't really have good enough 3s and 4s, so I just ran these 2. Really doesn't have that much good happening in the 3 and the 4 slot to really justify aggro decks. You need like really good finishers. When Blooming Heart really isn't anything on 3, 4, and 5. I think the Poison Oak is a little late. This does do 9. Maybe I'll bring this back and do Poison Oak. But again, usually in aggro decks, you're not running anything that costs 6. 6 is just so slow. You're really trying to like... There should be basically dead on turn 5. Don't like this deck. But again, the other Nightcap deck, Nightcap Swarm, is still very viable. The problem with this deck, I don't know if I explained what the issues with this deck was before. Sorry, I might have skipped out on that. The reason why I don't consider this to be like the best deck anymore is because there's a lot of weaknesses this deck has. The main weaknesses are Conman. Conman, every time the plants draw a card, Conman does damage to your face. So if you start making these combos, and they have even one Conman, for sure they have two on the field, this is going to be drawing you a card and doing damage to your face every single time. It just ruins the aspect of the deck. You can still do it go the Pine Clone way, and that sometimes can work. Another problem is Gladiator also totally ruins this strategy. Gladiator will, anytime your hero is damaged, it will absorb the damage instead. Also has armor, so it makes this able to do 0 damage. It really just ruins this deck. I just find that this has a lot of weaknesses. Sometimes OTK Valk also can. This deck doesn't, the win condition isn't that fast. Sometimes you'll win on turn 6 if you get that perfect Pine Clone, but often you have to really grind it out and draw cards and keep on, get your second wave of Astro Shroom in Planet of the Graves and your third wave, and often it just doesn't win fast enough. Again, but this is still a very, very good deck. It's just not as good against Valk as Solar Flare. It doesn't have Wing Nut. That's basically it. We had an interesting deck with Captain Combustible, which was, well, there is Captain Control where you control them and then hit them with a Repeat Moss combo. I think this is still very viable. It's a good way to beat Valk too. Controlling them isn't as good as aggroing them, so that's why I do prefer Captain Quick Win. There was Captain Conjure, which was an interesting tempo deck, actually, where make a play on turn 1 and use your Molocales to evolve everything into the next step, and use your Captain Cucumber to get finishers earlier. It's unreliable. Again, I wouldn't consider this to be one of the best decks in the game, but it's certainly a lot of fun and it's effective. I do have a video of this on YouTube. Anyway, guys, that was the explanation of the meta. It definitely starts with Valk. It definitely continues from there to the aggro cards in the solar, the solar class, basically any of the aggro, or with Captain Combustible on the plant side. Those are definitely the top of the meta, and there are, again, a lot of decks that are kind of next, and then there's a bunch of decks that used to be good, like Control Neptuna, that are garbage. Hope you guys enjoyed and you benefited from this, teaching you a little bit how to make decks to counter your opponent's decks, which is a very important thing in any card game to do. So hope you guys enjoy. Peace! This is Fry. I'll take some questions right now if you guys want, and I'll actually play some games with the various decks I talked about. I guess I'll go in order, so I'll just start playing with Valk. So I guess maybe I'll include this in the video. Why not? I'll be trying to look at the. I'm gonna look at the. Here's OTK Valk regular version. I'll try to look at the chat and I'll answer any of your questions you guys have while I play some of these. This will be a good thing. Do the daily? Okay, I'll do the daily challenge. But I'll still be taking your questions. Awesome Face is sending me a deck. Why do you look so sad? Use ramp cards to put in the red planet and finish off with Sunstrike. Ramp to red planet. That's interesting. I'm showing me a ramp deck. I don't see enough ramp here, but ramp to red planet. The reason why this looks like a viable idea. The problem is, though, with red planet is that red planet it has so many counters. Any cheap environment just absolutely counters. It ruins red planet. So if you have a big expensive card that costs 5 and little 1 or 2 cost cards can easily remove it, that every deck is going to have little environments. That's the problem I find in terms of on a very high level. Okay, so this is going to be a puzzle daily challenge. Shrink the zombies in the right order to beat this puzzle in 1 turn. Rose even borrows some galactic cactuses. Just don't let them be destroyed with shark on the board. Okay. Well, the heck? Look, Mommy, I have a cornucopia. So these reduced by 2. We need to do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Ooh, how does this work? We can remove one of the cards with this. So I guess we remove this one. These will be 4. Barbecue this. How to remove the second zombie? Only have 4 health. I'll do this for. I guess we can play the Cobkin in here. This will be 4. We just need a way to remove 2 zombies here. Actually, wait, I can put a second big guy on the field. Oh, wait, this shouldn't be so hard. How many brains do we have? We just need 6, 6, and 2. This doesn't seem difficult at all. I feel like I'm missing something here. We just really need 2 lanes to pull this off. I don't get it. I think I'm kind of cheating here, but I have this feeling that this isn't the way that daily was intended to be beaten, but we kind of cheated by stacking these 6 attack guys together, and that's it. Got him. Anyway. That wasn't so hard. There must be some other way of beating this daily challenge. I'm not sure if that was really the intention though. The thing is, you can get your 6s stacked. There's a way to remove all the guys. You don't have to. I feel dirty. I feel like I cheated anyway. People are thinking, how do you remove all the guys? You remove 2 guys. You remove one with the cob can, one with the shrinking vial. Anyway, hope you enjoy. Peace. This is Fry. Woo! Got it. Why would I even bother using brain cells and remove all the guys? I had lethal. Anyway, go. Alright, so we're going to be playing some games with this. Go OTK. This is a typical OTK Valk. I don't know why the internet's not working. Servers are down. I'll restart my app, I guess. I feel dirty. Sorry, PopCap. That's not what you meant. They could have made that challenge. They could have put all... they could have not given you a team-up card. See, if they would not have given you a team-up card, it would have been good. Oh, well, they made Fruitcake. They made Fruitcake a big card instead of the big Hardy removal card. I don't know if that's really necessary now. Control's not good, so having a 3-cost removal card, big removal card for the Hardy class doesn't matter, because Control sucks now. Late game Control. What card would I like to exist in the meta that doesn't exist? Let me restart my app and I'll think about it. I did have a couple answers though. I just don't remember what they are. I don't obsess over what cards I wish they would make. I just try to work with what I got here. Where the heck is my side sync? Oh, here it is. There we go. Let's turn this off. Oops. I say, get that weak stuff out of here. Fan put in the chomper? Anyway. I cheated. My bad. The easiest way to beat this challenge. Invasive species. It's only an aggro card on an environment though. So which environment are you gonna run? There's no good environment. Then you're gonna have to run environments, which means now the whole thing of running Fireweed is they don't have to run environments. See, which environment is gonna help aggro decks? Solar Winds? You can up. No wait, you can't have Solar Winds. It's either gonna be, what's the Kabloomy, cheap Kabloomy environment? What is it again? There is no cheap Kabloomy environment, so it's just freaking Planet of the Grapes, so you can draw cards. It's never gonna happen. It's not worth spending 2 cards to make a 5-attack guy on turn 3. You just miss your entire turn 2 if you play Lava. But again, you miss your entire turn 2 play if you're playing an environment. Or you're playing lava. I mean, you missed your turn 1 play. Or you have to play a 1-drop on turn 2. It's too slow. You gotta play a 1-drop on 1, a 2 on 2, and a 3 on 3 in order for aggro decks to really... You gotta maximize your damage output. If you're fumping around and you're just playing like an environment on turns 1 and 2, you're not gonna win. You're done. You gotta... Solid. That's why they have such low curves, too. Hot lava, fine, but when are you gonna play it? On turn 2 with a 1-drop card, and then you're going to need more 1-drops, which he also doesn't have. I'm running freaking poison mushroom. What are you going to run as a 1? He doesn't have any good 1-drops, really. What good 1-drop does Nightcap have for an aggro deck? Shoot him for 2? Not good. Should Shark be a 3/7? No, it's fine the way it is. Make every card cost 1 more? No. That would ruin a lot of things. Ruin the most curves. I'll put the rant on YouTube, absolutely. You can notice my voice is gone. Whenever I rant, my voice is shot. Okay, let's do this. I'll answer your questions. Yeah, this I could get, you know, voice coaching. This won't happen, but my voice is not built for ranting. That's why I'll never be able to do what Ben Shapiro does. Okay, this is the typical one. We lucked out that we were able to get this. I don't really need fruitcake. We just need some minions now. This is nice. This is fine. Thanks, Rikasen. I'm glad you're enjoying. I'll draw some cards, try to get a mustache monument up in here. Okay. Revive Carrot? It's hard for me to read card ideas during the stream, because I have to then think about it, and it's a lot of text, so... You wish your girlfriend's voice wasn't built for ranting. You're hilarious. Alright, go. Master Mancer is sending me a deck. That's an environment. The thing is, again, with this deck, you need a win condition. There's no cards in this deck that are going to win the game. You need a way to win. You can't rely on your Starslord, which itself is a really bad card, to win the game. See what else you have in your thing. Didn't really talk. I kind of talked indirectly about win conditions. I'm going to make another tutorial, probably offline, in terms of general deck building. I'm going to explain again kind of how aggro temp, how many early game cards, late game cards, and how many finishers you should have in a deck, and what the different win conditions in the game are. It's a different tutorial. You kidding me? I have to explode this barrel somehow. What's my final mission? All I need. He's doing so much damage to us early. This does 2 damage to his face. Cool. Num 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 num. Boom! Would Starchlord be better as a 3/6/5 cost? No, it'd actually be worse. The problem with Starchlord is that it's a card draw card. Don't think of it as a finisher. It's not going to finish anything. It's going to buff your cards by 1/1. It needs to start. It's an engine card and a card draw card. You need to start doing things before turn 5, which is horrible. Oh, we're getting wrecked here. We don't have an answer to these beans. Sucks. If going viral wasn't a thing, the Hardy class would be what it was in set 1, which was a piece of garbage. It sucked so much in set 1. Going viral made it kind of good, but it's still not even. Hardy is still one of the weakest classes. Particularly with Stompidon getting nerfed. He's rolling really well, too. We're actually going to lose this game. Just playing barrel. Like, if we don't get the final missions in this deck. Look at it. He's rolling all ones. Come on, man. Feels bad, man. It's got to be teleport barrel, but it's not going to work. It's going to kill us this turn, probably. Emali next is sending me a deck. Bullseye, 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 and some finishers. Yeah, no surprise. I think the concept of this deck is good. You definitely get rid of Flourish. You don't need more card draw once you're running 4 Captain Cucumbers. I think you need more late game. So if you get rid of those Flourishes and run more Banana Source Rexes, more beats you got there. Maybe 3 bonus attacks. But you need a little bit more late game, in my opinion. Finishers. You need about 8 finishers in every deck. That's what I'm gonna include in the thing. What if Valk... I should try my version, but anyway. This is fine. Well, let's go on YouTube, yeah. This is fine. Yeah, the rant will definitely go on YouTube. It's important. And we had the baby Fry. That'll be a separate YouTube video. I'll probably put that up right after the stream with the daily challenge. Oof. This is called oof.com. It's crazily oof. Just concede. Probably thinks we're hacking. Interesting, he's trying to not get it matched up. If he wanted to get matched up, should have done here. Ugh, I guess it's good. Guess it's good, eh? Just teleport. So much damage. It's gonna be this. I'm a strong baryon. A strong baryon will do. Kaboom. Yeah, Baby Fry was at the... Oof, says Karen. Baby Fry was here at the beginning of this stream. What if I go face here? 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I do. Could almost win this turn. Oh, was Teleport Valk lethal there? No. It is now, though. Harsh. I'm a final mission. Why would Val cost 5? It would not be useless. It would still be good. It would be fair. If this is too cheap, look, it's only turn 5 now. I can teleport it in. I can teleport a 6/6 in on turn 5. Donkulous. No, 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 no. That's this deck. Valk should definitely cost 5. It's ridiculous. It's like at least a 2/6 for 3. It's too good. Aggro Boogaloo. I'll kind of go through the decks in the order. I'll show you guys the hybrid deck. Maybe I'll show you that later. Maybe not. Aggro. Okay, I'll do it upon request. Aggro Boogaloo. You want to see that? Is this deck updated? Got some squirrels. Yeah, this is decent. This is decent. On Life of the Party, an egg would be nice. Kind of don't have room for it. This should work. I don't think I really have the deck list here, though. I'll just turn it off, whatever. Yeah, I've thought of Viking with Mustache Monument. I did make a huge Giganticus deck that tries to pull that off. It's a little slow, though. It's not bad, but it's not like top tier. 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks good. you can't run 4 Valks into any deck. It's got to be Professor Brainstorm, because he only really, again, Valk is, you could add 4 Valks if it's a tempo deck, you just want a big card, you could do that. But again, usually 1 cards are going to contribute to the win condition of the deck, and particularly with Brainstorm, when you have bonus attacks, you have teleports, mustache monuments, that's what really makes the Valk able to do what it does, baby. Oh yeah, baby. This is ridiculous. This is abso-freaking-lutely ridiculous. This is Aggro Boogaloo getting it done. I'll show you. I don't have this deck list. I have the old deck list for Aggro Boogaloo. This was easily the best Boogaloo deck last season. This is the old version with the. I think this will still have 4 health Conmans. This was last season when the Conman had 4 health. It was so freaking OP, particularly in these decks. So in this deck, I'm not running jugglers. I took them out for squirrels, which is decent because berries. He can just concede right now. It's how is he gonna catch up here? You can conjure some catch up. Can bean decks beat OTK Valk? I think they're too slow. If it's just beans, too slow. Plus, you know, Barrel of Deadbeards and stuff. I guess Bean decks did beat OTK Valk. Wow, just stole his block meter. Thank you. Thank you! And we're just drawing more cards. They're gonna be OP. They're cheapened. That happened. Why did he put this banana here? There's another free egg. That's nice. Guys, guess what turn that was? Don't look. That was turn 2. Donkulous. Watch him play Strawberry in lane 2. It's not gonna work. He just using a Pirate Infinity. Yeah, like a 3-cost 4/6. That is fine. That is fine. Again, playing big zombies doesn't necessarily work, but you could. You can put it in a Pirate Infinity deck. Absolutely. Doesn't really matter. Should I kill that banana? Nah. Buzz and earbud. You can hear the buzz? I'll try it, you know, now that you guys are telling me this, looks like there's a little interference with the microphone, so it shouldn't be happening. I'll try to fix it off stream. I'm gonna have to listen to the, like, record a little bit and listen and fix it that way. I'm gonna go for a sugary treat here. I think this is good because he's gonna probably play banana bombs and start. That'll absorb at least a banana bomb here. So much banana bombs. Even Guy Treat wins in lane 2. Like these two win. It's kind of ridiculous. Thank you, Person Fry. What did I do that was helpful, Weedle? What did he say? Oh. Again, this does survive now. It gets 1 extra health. A couple extra attacks. So we at least kill these. This should win, unless he rolls a 3 here. That's that. These aggro crazy decks are quite good. That was probably a control deck, but it was too slow. That's why Banana Launcher doesn't control the turn you play it. That's the problem. I did do the daily challenge. I'll upload that after the stream. How long am I streaming for now? Oh, it's 2 hours. Any other decks that are worth mentioning here? That's basically it. Did aggro. Again, all these decks I've talked about today, I have whole YouTube videos on them. So if you're wondering, hey, he said Ramp Rose deck. So just look for my most recent Ramp Rose deck. It's, you know, it's within the last 20 videos. It's one of the ones I did this season or whatever, you know. It's called Pay Your Way to Paradise, okay? So if you're wondering, okay, what about that deck he showed us? It was the Grass Knuckles deck with the Gatling. So just type in Fry Up Gatling into YouTube. This will be the first video that comes up, I'm pretty sure. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed. That is the explanation and the questions and answers and stuff like that. Peace! This is Fry. I have tried Stompidon again. I've tried it in a couple different decks. I've not gotten a way for it to work yet. It's too expensive for what it does. The reason, again, Stompidon. If Stompidon starts, or if a 4-cost card, it starts doing stuff on turn 5. It really, you get the value out of it. If it somehow survives to turn 6, you get the value of it on 6 and say it's too slow. You gotta win quicker. Alright, guys. I gotta go. I'll make the daily challenge video, rant video. I have a lot of PvZ Heroes videos to make. Super happy we were able to do the ramp today. Really awesome. May flourish. Again, it doesn't work that well anymore. Basically a Podfather deck. You put more cards and then you this and I don't know. It's too slow. That's actually the problem with it. It doesn't win fast enough. It doesn't have heavy hitters. You need like heavy hitters in today's meta to compete with Valk and stuff. I'll look at one more deck and then I'll head out here. Control Boogaloo. Using Dog as a control card. What are your finishers? Again, the finishers in this deck are few and are weak. You just put a 5/5 on the field. It's not going to finish off your opponent. I guess this deck would be good on a very low level. Low level deck. But it's decent at a low level, I guess. You need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 finishers. It could work. It could work. Alright. What is this? Elzar? Valk is fine. I think Teleport Valk, even in set 1, was broken, though. And I don't think Mustache Monument is OP with anything else. I think it's nice to have that little card that does the bonus attacks with Viking and stuff. They're only a problem together. And the problem is because Valk is broken with Teleport and bonus attack, too. It's not just a problem with the Monument. So it really shows you the problem is the Valk and not the Monument. Aggro Infinity, I did that. I'll upload it to YouTube. Sometime. It'll probably be my next YouTube video. I did do that on stream and it worked well. I thought I actually uploaded that. Maybe I didn't. No, I guess I didn't upload it yet. I have a few reserves. Is the aggro Boogaloo better than the aggro Z-Mac? Each of them have their pluses and minuses. It's kind of nice with the cheese cutters if you can pull it off. They're about the same. I complained since set 1. In set 1, Valk was OP. People are complaining now because with Mustache Monument, it's ridiculously OP. But Teleport Valk has always been, in my opinion, way too strong. It's always been, since set 1, it's been contender for, when did Teleport Valk start happening? Oh, set 1. It's always been a contender for the best deck in the game. Shout out to Tryhard, who really was the one who started, I don't know if he necessarily made it up, but he was the one who really got that deck out there. He's kind of accredited with it. What is this? 14, what Huge Giganticus, Brain Vendor, Mustache Waxer. I tried the Mustache Waxer Brain Vendor ramp with the Bad Moon Rising. I will try it again. Fun Dead Razor. Frosty Mustache. Oh, that's more of a... Anyway. I've tried Mustache. Mustache Waxer is another card. Haven't been able to pull off on a high level yet. But I'll keep trying. Tryhard is definitely accredited with inventing it. Again, he might have. I don't know. He definitely was the one who got it out there, which that's definitely a lot of credit. Maybe he did. It could be he did make it up. He's definitely a very creative deck builder. So, what are the best decks on each side right now? So I did explain that today, but in short, it's the aggro decks on the plant side and OTK Valk on the zombie side. The aggro decks on the zombie side are not bad either. I did redress your idea, Time Warp, about Valk getting +1. I think that makes Valk useless. It'll never get strong enough to be able to pull anything off. I think just make it more expensive to solve it. I think it's going to be way too slow if it only gains 1. each time. But that is an idea. It would work. It would solve the problem, Time Warp. I just would prefer it just being more expensive. It would be. It costs 5. It would still be fine, I think. I don't think there can be a mechanic your opponent knows they have it in your hand. I think if you're playing against a Valk deck, you have to know the meta, be smart, and recognize that you're playing against a Valk deck. That's just as good as knowing what's in your opponent's hand. You're not going to make a mechanic for players who are less experienced to know the Valk is there, you know? You got to always play around Valk when you're against Brainstorm. And you're seeing your typical regifting zombies start coming out. You just gotta be prepared for it. Count every zombie that dies. Keep track of how big that Valk is. That's how you play. All right, guys. I gotta get you out of here. The win rate. You can try it. I don't know how recent you are to the game, but the old Valk decks. Valk Trickster Hybrid was so... You want to see Valk without Mustache Mind. Look at my old Valk decks. Look at the Valk Trickster Hybrid from set 1. That deck was ridiculously strong, and it's still good. You can use basically that same deck list. Anyway, guys, I got a Gucci. See you later. Peace. This is Fry.